All right, Mike Sims here with Let's Be Blunt, and I'm here with Kendra and Allie, and we'll get to a minute and let them talk for themselves. But I've been looking forward to this interview for quite some time. Kendra was one of our first interviews with the Let's Be Blunt radio show we had that ultimately didn't get to air, and they had a lot of legal pushbacks and things, and ultimately it didn't get to air, which is better. Now we have the podcast. Now we can be more real and keep it blunt. We got Ray with us too behind the camera back there. He might join in and ask some questions. But ultimately, these ladies are incredible, and they're a true inspiration to me. I'm very passionate about a lot of things, including cannabis, but nothing compared to these two ladies, and they have quite the story to tell. We all have a why of why we're passionate and why we do something. And I for sure have my reasons of why cannabis is very important and why we've got to change the stigma and a lot of issues behind it. But I think these ladies' why is way more significant. And I'm going to let them tell their story from here. You can go ahead and jump in and say what you want to. And thank you both for doing this. It means a lot, honestly.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it, and I enjoy having you guys in my home, so thank you. Well, Allie is my reason for entering the cannabis business and learning about the wonders that this plant could do. Allie is my beautiful 23-year-old daughter that unfortunately was born with a genetic disorder. The name of the disorder is Unverked-Lundborg disease. Unverked-Lundborg disease plainly just deteriorates the central nervous system. So any type of central nervous system disease that you can think of, she will exhibit a hint of it every now and then. One way to classify this disease, because it is not prevalent in the United States, is to put it kind of under epilepsy, because it is a brain-disrupting communication disease. So with that, Allie's under the epilepsy category. We have many different things that we would categorize as seizures occurring in her body daily. But if we keep her within that realm of the medicine, or using that terminology, she is what is, at this stage of disease, is in what is called status epilepticus. And that means basically that she does not stop seizing. Every blink of an eye or breath is a minor seizure, an infarction that she's going through. Some days are absolutely awful, with Allie not being able to breathe because of seizures in the intercostal spaces, or those inner spaces of the diaphragm and the lung tissue. Some days she's unable to swallow because of those muscles either overstimulating or understimulating, but they just stop. Same thing for muscles in here. So when that happens, breathing difficulties occur and things like that. So, and then some days we have, just this array of different types of seizures, and some days are beautiful like today, where our baseline is nice and easy, and she can talk and smile to us and stuff. So we love ones like that.
Oh, yeah, we love that too.
With having this rare disease, they ran out of pharmaceutical combinations and things that we can do in the U.S. because what is what works on this disease is not FDA approved here in the United States, which gave us the window of opportunity to look for something else.
Sure.
Okay, so I, of course, am not a person that gives up. So it began a study. How do I keep my baby here? So I was introduced to cannabis as a medicine by her pediatric neurologist, who was progressively studying this 10 years ago. She was from the West Coast, so they've been, of course, kind of ahead of us in things. So she said, hey, listen, I want you to start to study this, because this will kind of work for Allie. In the study of it, didn't have a lot of time to study, because honestly, Alice went into this awful traumatic type of seizure activity we weren't familiar with then, and it began to cause heart problems. So her heart began to slow down, systems in the body began to slow. I was introduced to a tincture of sort or a paste made with cannabis called Rick Simpson's oil. It was originally formulated for cancer patients. And we went to, well, most importantly, what it helps to do is oxygenate the blood. And then we knew that's what Allie needed because she's losing it. She was losing it, right? So, okay, hey, let's go get this. So I had to leave her in ICU. I flew across the country, grabbed this illegally, but bought it back. So I had to get on a plane.
Do what you gotta do.
And came back, and within a very few minutes, Allie began to breathe on her own. After the RSO blend, and it's really cool because it's something that you microdose or use in small amounts, and we placed a very small amount under her tongue, probably like it's the size of a grain of rice, and that opened up the ability to breathe again.
Wow.
I gave her a few more doses, and that's what the doctor said too. They were like, oh, because we had already gained, Allie and I have fought for a lot of things for people, mainly because I needed them for her.
Sure.
But I knew they would open the doorway for others as they begin to learn, including, asking and begging the hospital systems after being threatened to be arrested to have this in that hospital. Allie was still in pediatric care, so like she was 11. Allie is 23. The life expectancy for her disorder, for her type, is 17. So we're 23. Okay.
Absolutely.
I started administering the cannabis around 11 or 12. Yeah. We had to begin because when kind of puberty stepped in, her body could not take all of that, so it started shutting things down. It was like, oh, this is not gonna work. We began with the plant, a couple more doses for within hours, and then in about 8 to 12 hours in that window, Allie came out of ICU, went back on the floor. The seizures began to cease. Okay.
Wow.
So this was wonderful to see. I'm like, oh, gotta have this stuff. Also before that time though, I was introduced, and this began my learning process of how to make these different medicaments for different things. But I was introduced to some wonderful people that have been advocating for cannabis forever in the state. And they said, we're going to begin to teach you this from seed to table, have you, so that if you're ever stuck without it, you can do this. Because Allie's going to need it. This is one of her foods now, right?
Right.
So they began to teach me, and I was very, very thankful of it. We began making things for her that allowed this consistent oxygenation to happen throughout the body where she wasn't receiving it.
Wow.
Cannabis is an awesome medicine.
Amen.
We are a twofold house.
Sure.
Okay, so I don't always tell Ryan, but I have Crohn's disease.
Right.
And I have been in remission for 7 years.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Cannabis is in my diet. We are infused from head to toe. Skin, everything.
So maybe let's go through that a little bit. What does a normal regimen of cannabis look like? What types works best for both of you, or separately together, or like what form, I guess?
Okay. Well, we use cannabis in all forms, from extracts to tinctures to butters to lotions to oils, anything. Right? Because we need this infusement in our bodies constantly, all those wonderful cannabinoids, right, to feed that system to get us going. Cannabis we've found with us and others that using it as a food and thinking of it that way, right? Seasonally growing, we have different types of cannabis, different strands, stuff like that, right? We all have different genetics, so does cannabis. When thinking of it, of when the right time to eat it or to ingest it, if you watch the body with ailments, they change seasonally too, right? And we hear people change from night to day. So, in taking in all of those things, right, and learning that different forms of cannabis work different types of bodies, different ailments, different measures. And so we've been playing with a lot of things. Okay. I've found that indicas are absolutely wonderful all the time because we are pain, muscle tension, high anxiety, right?
Sure.
Things like that that interact and interfere with that central nervous system activating like it needs to, right? So the indica strands are really good for that. Great relaxation. They help with sleep. You heal a lot in your sleep. And if you have the benefits of, if you don't have the benefits of the Delta 9 THC, there are other things that the plant gives us, like THCV, THCA. There are other forms, Delta 8 THC. There are different forms of THC that are there so that the plant can form this perfect synergy or activation in the body. And I've found and learned that THC works best when you're resting, so in a resting state. And that's good to increase, like we take more at night than we do during the day, right? But what it's done for us is we're on no opiates. Everyone that has not so much as epilepsy or Crohn's disease, they're on a form of opiate. It's a consistent painful disease, right? So you're always in pain, right? Cannabis helps to curb that. It allows me to speak. Because you use your abdominal muscles for everything, right? So you're like, oh, I can't talk today.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, just the simple things, the activities of daily living that it helps with can be managed with minute levels. And then the things that cause us to have to go to the hospital, those increasing pain days or excruciating days, if we increase our cannabis, we can kind of get a little handle on that. Means we may still need to go get opiates or whatever else because we're dual therapy, gotta have it, We need those acids for yeah. And while we're, and in coupling together, they work great. With cannabis, you don't have to use as many pharmaceuticals. I am on a PRN type of basis for some things, and I have like 2 or 3 things that work for me if I need them. And I have to take, like, when I go into like pain bouts and spasms and things like that are out of control because of my history and how long I've had it, I have to have, cancer things. So they I skip way over here. And so my medicines take me away from, I feel like they take me away from Earth for a couple of days.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So I can't be that way. I have to watch Allie. So my cannabis amount that I take every day is pretty high. Right? I've got to stay nice and even. I like the best way for me and what I find has the biggest response is ingesting and because going through the system, it gets to go everywhere. It gets to get in my bloodstream and all that wonderful stuff. Inhalation is good too when if I need something fast, because I have to wait for it to go through my system, I will smoke. Need to just take a little bit, just long enough to get this going. Almost like, like I gotta have this in my IV right now. Please give it to me. Some things have to go through the IV. Hey.
Yes, smoking is definitely. What you say, Ms. Allie?
You're cold? Okay, I'm sorry. Look at your blanket. Thank you. There we go.
For sure.
And Allie, you would find that works really great for her too. Allie's not able to smoke, so she gets all of her medications through her G-tube, which intends to work really well here. Allie's on, she used to be on almost like 20 different medicines, not all at one time, but throughout the course of the day or something this monthly or whatever. Things to kind of manage the differences and stuff in the seizures. And right now we're on a core of only 6. And because this is a progressive degenerative disease, I wasn't too keen on it at first because of the process of making it, but we've added the state's medicine Epidiolex too. Yeah. She needs it. Right?
It's still cannabis at the end of the day. Yeah.
However, her her more natural medications or extraction methods in the cannabis, she does have a lot more of because, don't want too many. The state's medicine is good. It's working very well.
Sure.
It is, but it does have ethanol in its making, so don't want to let that to build up in the system. I'm very conscious about everything.
Yeah, I've learned a ton from Kendra over the years. I guess now I've known you probably a year and a half, maybe a little longer.
Yeah.
I met her at some event in Charlotte, and just like she is now, a complete ray of sunshine and an aura of positivity. And a lot of times when I go through the struggles of this industry and thinking about fighting for legalization, all these things, I think about how frustrated it is, and I kind of give myself a pity party. And this is who I think of, Allie and Kendra, in these times. And I'm like, this is why. This is why we have to fight for these things. Because it is necessary. It is medicine. It is food. There's two more examples of what it does, and ultimately, like she said, that she was at her wit's end with pharmaceutical drugs anyway. There were no other pharmaceutical options that were doing anything. But all inspiring. It's this is what I think about, and I'm newly a parent. The last few years, and parenting is hard enough, and then when you're dealing with an issue because of genetics, it adds that to it, and then you're fighting laws on top of it, and you're doing what you know is right as a person and as a mother, and you're having to fight. And I think that's why that's ultimately why I want to get these two ladies on camera, is to tell their story, but to put it in perspective. When people say cannabis is a medicine, cannabis is a medicine, and yeah, there's people out there that just want to get high, myself included, but it's also a medicine for me, and that's okay too, because no one gets harmed, and it's on this planet for us to use. But I think it's important to really put that in perspective of how challenging this is, and this is exactly why we're fighting for access to it. I've seen recently, I follow her on social media, and I see recently you ladies had to go to a hospital at Duke and things like that, because things kind of get out of whack, and then it seems like you forgot to take care of yourself in the process. But what exactly happens when things get to the point where you need to evacuate and go to a hospital?
When we make decision to go to the hospital, we have run through cannabis and pharmaceutical emergency procedures, and either the seizures are not stopping, or of course the number one reason, because she's losing the ability to breathe. When we went in, we did go a couple times this year, Mike's right, and in the process of these two hospital visits for Allie, I did not, so I ended up in the hospital, so here I am there too, so we're like, wait a minute, something has stopped. So, and immediately after I came, I went in for, my heart was like not doing as it's supposed to, getting older, get stressed out sometimes, don't take my own medicine, whatever, right? All the time passes by, right? So doctor's like, you need to shut down, and we know you're out there doing a whole lot. And it's very awesome to kind of hear the doctor say that, hey, I heard about what you do. And I'm like, thank you. Because it's still very
Somewhat of a legend.
Really interested. I'm enjoying time at Duke. Sorry to skip over there, but I am enjoying time at Duke because we're learning together. And it's really awesome. They're always like, I can't believe it does that. I'm like, yeah. But,
and we recently had one of her extractions tested, and it did well. Did very well. And that's what we're all in this for. Give us the access. Let us understand how and why. Why does this work? How does it work? And what levels? What milligrams? What do the other cannabinoids do? And that's what got us this far, is fighting for that. And it seems like we've kind of lost focus of that in the industry and as a state in this country, that there's no doubt anymore. This is a medical thing. It's still Schedule 1, meaning it has zero medical ability, zero medical anything. And we're seeing it here. We see it every day. I see it every day. It's nothing but medical.
It is definitely, and I like, the entrance that you said a few minutes ago, which I think is awesome. Some people do just, and consider I hate the word, that they
All
want
right.
to kind of get high.
I do too, but I say it so
But
people understand.
yeah, so people understand it. But, like, it's just that wonderful elation feeling of happiness and joy that you're really getting. And then we all get stressed out a little bit. We all get worried, whatever it is that kind of like throws your system off just for a few minutes.
Right.
And to be able to grab this plant and put yourself back in line and even breathe, right? Because we all know
Right.
it is. It's just awesome. And yes, God gave us everything we need.
It's
He
an
gave us
instant
all these
perspective
different.
changer, it feels.
We just need to remember what we're supposed to do with it. And yes, unfortunately, this particular plant is not legal, right?
Sure.
They're saying that it isn't this. But I'm enjoying the people that I get the opportunity to care for, and people like Mike that are out there spreading the word and stuff like that, and giving me or helping in that platform. Because of Mike and his belief in my product, I was able to come out from being behind the scenes a little, right?
I wish I could help more. I believe, yeah.
And bring product into store and begin to give people a taste of what this is. Like, and literally taste, come taste this.
Sure.
Versus, so enjoying that and seeing people feel better, and then call behind the scenes and say, like, it's not in the store, but can you make me some?
Right.
Well,
let's talk about that for a second too.
Yeah.
Kendra is very much so. She's a wonderful cook, and she cooks a lot of vegan recipes and a lot of cannabis recipes that is very good. So everyone out there watching, if you're interested, Ladybug Medibles is where it's at. And you can tell how to get in touch with you for all that. But let me tell you, her Reese's cups, she's made pasta for us in the past, all kind of things, delicious. She's an incredible cook. But she does. She cooks with love and healing in mind, and it shows in her dishes and in everything she does. So how can they get in touch with you?
Well, you can definitely see me all over Facebook.
Right.
Like under Ladybugs Medibles with an M. And then also give me a call. We're out there. My number is 704-668-6033. 704-668-6033.
And I will post this too and when we post this online, I'll make sure to get in touch with. Definitely, great products. Obviously, she knows what she's doing. She really worked it out. But you're an inspiration and a pioneer in so many ways. And I've got to know you since we got in this and see your struggle and what you've been through. But because of you and what you've done has allowed us to do it. So you're thanking me. I'm telling you, all of us are in this together, and that's what it's going to take. We have to get these stories out. We have to tell Allie's story. We have to tell Kendra's story. We have to tell my story, because the propaganda we're fed is just that, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's important to put faces with a story, because we can talk about it all day. But I thought it would be way more beneficial to all of us to be here right in front of. This is where we're at. This is the real life behind these laws that are unjustly wrong. You're suffering. You're making people suffer for these laws. As everyone wants incremental changes and say, well, think about it now. Senator Tom Tillis, which I'm meeting with tomorrow, sent me a form letter back spewing propaganda about why we can't take this step as a state. And I will address that with him tomorrow. But I'm tired of hearing it. You're tired of hearing it. We're all tired of hearing it. We know this plant heals and it does not kill. What are we waiting on? That's where I'm at.
I thank you for taking torch and going out with that. I enjoyed my time out there speaking to the representatives and legislatures, and definitely am looking forward to coming back out. But Allie's, make sure Allie's good. And, these other cancer patients and everything else that are suffering because this law isn't valued, or, it's almost as if the people are not valued, right?
Right.
Yes, right?
And you said they threatened to arrest you for this at some point, or just the imminent threat? Or?
Yeah, no. They actually came up to the hospital, like, you have this illegal substance on the hospital, that you cannot do this, right? And I'm like, okay, and and Allie's in ICU, and we're watching everything drop, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm giving this to her, like, she's not whose hand is this? If she's not gonna breathe, she's not gonna make it. Like,
Right.
you know, whose hands is, you know, her doctor stood up and he said, please give it to her to make the steps with you, because not all the time can you. I have no problem standing out. I have always been like, hey, this.
It's lonely, right?
Yeah, you know, but sometimes you need another. So him, you know, stepping right in saying, please give her the elixir, Kendra, right? And then everyone seeing it, soon you saw like the crowd begin to disperse. Well,
Right.
and you hear the whispers, "What's that?" And I heard nothing else about it.
Right.
You know,
Wow.
it worked immediately. So it was like this particular time we had to give her theirs and mine. And through, you know, they call that emergency response team in the hospital to the room. We're going to have to take her out of here. We've got to go put her here, right? And I'm like, no. You know, we're sitting there, you know, everyone's ready to bag her, whatever's going to happen. And he said, and I said, please, you know, like, and he said, Kendra, just go. We'll do it together. And he gave it through the IV. I gave it through the G-tube, and she breathed.
Wow. Wow.
So, you know.
I mean, can you imagine, like, having to beg a doctor or anyone to administer something you know is going to make your child better? Like, I never can accept that. I never will be able to accept that. Like, it's just, it baffles me. And, you know, even knowing this now, since that's happening, nothing's changed. The laws are the same. She probably still faces the same kind of issues if the right cop decides to get involved in the hospital. Mm-hmm. It's just not fair. This is why we're doing this. This is the why. This is the why.
Going to Duke, we had to have, they knew coming in who we were. So like, you know, hey, that's the cannabis lady. And she's bringing the child that survives on cannabis with her. And they have nowhere else to go, right? So we're like, hey, we're coming in, you know. And, you know, they invited us in with open arms, but we had to do legal things because they knew, hey, Allie, this is Allie, she's got to have it, right? So I am very thankful for them ushering and bringing us in, because here in Charlotte, it's not that we didn't open the way at both hospitals, because I went through this at both hospitals, the hospital boards, all of these things, you know, to open this so that we could do this, but her disease has just progressed, so we need higher level neurocare. And with, you know, going there again, like, yes, there were things, but it's just the ask, or even just knowing that we have to do it. I'm sorry, you're going to have to make this exception. And, you know, one of the doctors said, man, you know, you've done this by yourself for so long.
Right.
So I think that I can stick my neck out for you. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, thank you so much.
Yeah. I will fight every fight possible to keep you from having to fight that again, trust me. But yeah, that's why. And I hear Kendra's story, Allie's story every day of my life, being in the position I'm in, owning my store with you know, just hemp, just CBD, which is great. But the THC component is what makes a difference. This is what makes a difference here. It's what makes a difference in a lot of these scenarios. You have to have all cannabinoids present. Cannabinoids work with each other, so you need that entourage effect to heal us, to connect the links that are missing. So yeah, we do have access to CBD and hemp right now. People say it like, you should be happy you have this. Like, you should be happy you have some food instead of, you know what I mean? But we need it all. And to argue over an arbitrary number of something that naturally occurs in nature is complete insanity to me. And I think it is to all of us that's involved and really know. But, you know, it's not the end-all answer to their problem or anyone's, but it's significant, and it's part of our diets, and it's necessary for us to function properly with extreme circumstances or not. So that's why we're fighting for it. That's, you know, the inspiration. This is why. And, you know, sometimes life just gives you something in front of you, and my options, you know, my things are different, but I have the same passion for different reasons, because I've firsthand seen this help everything from PTSD to Crohn's to cancer to epilepsy, you name it. It's because we have receptors for this.
Yes. I think as the science, as you know, since we have to put a word to it, right, develops, and as people begin to step forward with their stories, because we are all this, we're all within the study. You hear a lot of people say, you know, well, we have to do a study first. There are active lab studies going on. Like, we're still here.
Yeah, studies been going on since the 60s by the government. We have plenty of studies.
There are things that, you know, like are unexplainable that happen within the body of cannabis is allowed to activate and perform this wonderful synergistic union for everything. I mean, like this summer, you know, because I'm a farmer, I was out, you know, decided to plow my own thing and went outside and did my garden space, and I actually twisted my colon. I'm not supposed to do anything over gallon of milk type stuff,
Right,
but I'm hard-headed. And I'm not going to get old, you know, all that wonderful stuff. I'm like, ah. And the doctor's like, how did you do this? We're going to have surgery. I'm like, no, we're not.
Not today, yeah.
We're not cutting today, buddy. So, you know, like, went through a great cannabis regimen. I did not have surgery when it turned around. It did what it's supposed to, because those cannabinoid receptors spoke to each other, and cannabis coming in, you know, like, what job are you here to do? We're turning the intestines around. All right, let's go.
Right.
And, you know, it's this wonderful rhythmic plant. It adapts to the body rhythmically. We're all energy, and if you're eating something alive, you're taking something that is alive, that has life, you cannot do anything but beget more life, right? So why not?
I feel it. And I know plenty of farmers talk to their plants, play music for their plants, tell them they love them. They live too. Absolutely. But ultimately, I, you know, again, that's about all I have. I want to let Allie and Kendra get the rest. Is there anything else you want to add before we cut out, or anything you want to say? Thank you again, Allie, for doing this for us. I appreciate it. Great to finally meet you. Yeah.
Thank you for giving us this exposure. Thank you for giving us this time. Thank
100%.
you.
We're all in this together. I speak about you often in high regards, and I've talked to Ray often, and I've been wanting this to happen for quite some time. And I welcome both of you anytime you got something to say. We're going to wrap it up then, and thank you, Ray, and thank you, Allie, thank you, Kendra. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Be Blunt. Anything you want to add, you can get in touch with us through letsbeblunt.org. If you need to get in touch with Kendra, I'll post all the information when we post this video, or just hit us up. We'll get you in touch with her. If you got a story to share, we'd love to hear yours as well. And again, thank you for sharing your home and your story.
You're welcome.
Thank you.